So first of all, I'm going to share a vocabulary sheet with you. Now here, what I expect you to do is just fill in what you can actually think of, just the right word choices that you can think of over here. I'm going to give you 2 minutes to think of certain words here to fill in the blanks. And then what we are going to do is, and you don't have to complete the entire worksheet. What we are going to do is we're going to compare your suggested words with the specific words that the authors had in mind. Anyone who has finished even the first paragraph, you can just raise your hand and let me know. Maybe we can just start discussing that word choice then. All right. So, Fatma, I'm taking that you have filled in the first blank, right?
Yes,
Okay,
miss.
fine. So, can you just tell me what comes there? Probably my guess is that you have said mammoth side, behemoth, or gigantic. Now, what is it?
Well, miss, what I used was waddling.
A waddling, right. Okay, fine. Uh, Anaya, what do you have? Which word has come to your mind?
Miss, I used moving.
Okay, fine. Meher?
Ma'am, I used stomping.
All right, nice. Okay, so just remember all the words that you have actually used there. And we come on the second blank, which goes like smoke dash down from chimney pots. So if I had to actually say, I would probably say swirl, smoke swirled or something down, although that's an unlikely action. But if I were thoughtlessly just adding the blanks, filling up the blanks, I would say that. So making a soft black drizzle. So, Meher?
Ma'am, I've kept it simple. I just went with lowering.
Okay, right. So making a soft black, let's just quickly move on and making a soft black drizzle with flakes of soot in it as big as full-grown snowflakes. Gone into mourning, one might imagine, for the death of the sun. Dogs dash in mire, and here, what do you think would be a suitable word?
Ma'am,
E,
I did swamped.
all right, swamped. Uh, Anaya?
I said unclear.
Sorry, can you please repeat?
Ma'am, unclear.
Unclear. Okay. And horses scarcely better splash to their very blinkers. Foot passengers dash one another's umbrellas in a general infection of ill temper. Fatma?
Yes, miss. Miss, we could use the word jostling here.
Fatma, why do I get the feeling that you seem to be an author already? Hmm?
No, miss.
Okay. So one another's, anybody else who had any word in mind here? Yeah.
I did shoving.
All right, fine. Yeah, that's a very likely, a suitable word. So, in a
Miss,
general infection of ill temper and losing their foothold at street corners, where tens of thousands of other foot passengers have been slipping and sliding since the day broke. if the day ever broke, adding new deposits to the dash of mud. So, anybody who has Anaya, do you want to fill in this blank?
Miss, I did pile of mud.
Good enough. All right. So, let's just move on, sticking at those points. Dash to the pavement. Fatma?
Yes, Miss. Miss, could we
Yeah.
use the word tenaciously?
Tenaciously to the pavement. All right. Okay, so let's just compare this. Now, just remember your responses and let's compare it to the one that the author had in mind. Okay, can you see the actual original text on my screen? It should go like this: London, full stop, Michael Mass term lately over. Can you see that on my screen?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Miss.
Okay, so at the end of the first line, it is as much mud in the streets as if the waters had newly retired from the face of the earth. And it would not be wonderful to meet a megalosaurus, 40 feet long or so, waddling like an elephantine lizard up Holborn Hill. So I guess Fatma, born author that we have here in our class, I'd say, right? So you were spot on there. Now we move on. Smoke lowering down from chimney pots. Meher, you had guessed it right. Now this is Charles Dickens we are talking about. So you seem to be, rubbing shoulders with the likes of such authors. I'm actually impressed by my class. Either I did a really good job or my students are brilliant. Hmm? Anyway, making a soft black drizzle with flakes of soot in it as big as full-grown snowflake, gone into mourning, one might imagine, for the death of the sun. Dogs, undistinguishable in mire, horses scarcely better, splash to their very blinkers. Now, you know that undistinguishable is like better. It creates the effect of like they're totally covered in mud. So how is it different from your choice of word, Meher? This and the one that the author is using.
Ma'am, I think this like helps to convey the meaning more that you can't recognize them at all.
Yeah, and it really creates that probably the filth that is filling up the streets. It gives that a better idea without using up too many words. And that is exactly what I'm trying to teach you all every time, that you need to use a more precise vocabulary. Then we move on. Horses scarcely better, splash to their very blinkers, foot passengers jostling one another's umbrellas in a general infection of ill temper. Now, again, jostling again creates that sense of hostility, unfriendliness. Of course, shoving does the same, but maybe it creates a rhythm for which reason, the author has chosen this rather than shoving and giving it a personality. And losing their foothold at street corners where tens of thousands of other foot passengers have been slipping and sliding since the day broke, if this ever broke, adding new deposits in the crust upon crust of mud. So, Inaya, you can see what you had used the word pile. Now,
Yes,
can
Miss.
you see how this is different? Deposits, the repetition, adding new deposits to the crust upon crust is so much better than just simply putting it there
Yes,
by
Miss.
using the word pile. Okay?
Yes.
So what you have to do is This is the whole point of the exercise. Before you construct your own answer, you need to analyze the whole text. Is there a rhythm? Is there a tone? What is the tone of the writer? What is the main idea? What kind of atmosphere is the writer trying to create before you try to unlock the writer's secrets? So from here, what we do is we're going to simply go over how you're going to, once you have analyzed your text, how are you going to construct a response? So I'm going to share screen again, and I'm going to share this worksheet where I have streamlined all the key tips that you need to know when attempting question 2D. And of course, you know how important it is that you understand question 2D correctly, because the following question, the extended writing question, will also go wrong if you do not understand the paragraph correctly. It's more like, you need to know the forest well before the trees. It's something like that. So over here, you can see writer's craft question. This is the time allocated, 25 minutes. This is what you are suggested to, the time that you are suggested to use over here on this question. Total marks, 15. There are 2 paragraphs with 3 examples, 200 to 300 words. Now, these are all, we just kind of going over what the question is about, but you need to remember that you cannot read the paragraphs in isolation. Over the practice of the last few months, what I've discovered with my students is that you should be reading the entire text and then see how this paragraph has value, is related to the rest of the story. So that is very important. You guess the tone that the writer is using there in the text. And over here, we come back to the overview. Now, overview should be, when you start writing your response, it should be 1 sentence and a 1 sentence paragraph at that. You need to keep the question's keywords in mind, which are coming before the ellipses. And please, when you are writing your overview, try to think of at least 2 implicit meanings there, or explicit and implicit. The overall effect should be just not so simple that you have nothing to write in your analysis then. You need to dig deeper, and you need to state it in your overview statement as well. Try to include as many adjectives and abstract nouns in your topic sentence. Then move on to analyze your first example, break it down again at the tree level, and then see how it has the overall importance, significance to the rest of the text, or the forest maybe. So you can focus on other sentences and stylistic choices. By this, it means that you need to be careful, choose examples which are based on imagery rather than simple phrases, okay? Although you're allowed to do that, but then you are the one who will be, just saying the same thing, repeating your points. There won't be much discussion going on there. So we have this, like, for each meaning example that we discuss, there should be explicit and 2 layers of meaning. This is the way to go. I'm going to share this worksheet also, so you can actually study it at length yourself. Now let's come on the suggested structure that your response should take. The overall effect of the language in the passage is used to turn whatever you want to say. There is a change. Generally, if you notice, in all these paragraphs, you will see there is some contrast which is drawn between some atmosphere, or maybe it is human endeavor versus nature. Whatever it is, you could actually introduce it here. So firstly, the writer describes and all that. So that's one way you make it very clear, succinct, by adding transition phrases like firstly, secondly, and lastly. And in between, you can say additionally, or moreover, the writer is saying this. you give layers of meaning, or you mention your implicit meanings after giving your explicit deduction of the phrase. Now, what are writers' effects? Choosing vocabulary to create this is like all taken from examiners' reports, and they've all been put over here. So over here, language for deliberate effect is there will be always a sense of foreboding, so you should be looking out for it. You need to understand, you need to make a list for yourself also by just going over, practicing the past papers and listing the different kinds of atmosphere. I've done that work for you over here. It's a sense of foreboding, which is there, maybe suspense, foreshadowing. They're just using emotive language to engage the reader. Sensory imagery is used, immersive experience. All that is there in those two paragraphs, and you need to use those terms, those technical terms in your responses. So please go over it. This worksheet will go a long way in actually preparing you for the 0500 paper 1 and question 2D. It also gives you the sentence starters over here, which you can use. Through using this phrase, the writer powerfully suggests. The word appeals to the writer's sense of touch, emphasizing. The atmosphere create heightens the reader's feelings of. Now, I am not one for actually, rote learning for the English paper, but somehow a little help of certain phrases does prepare you. It does improve your written expression. So my suggestion is that maybe when you're practicing on your own, you can use these phrases to form your response. And we move on to what the examiner says to the candidate for question 2D. And here I have just put down that you should be using 6 choices in total. Now, when you're choosing your examples, there should be not more than 7 keywords that make meaning clear without using ellipses. Now, please make sure the examiner has mentioned in his ER reports that you should not be using ellipses. Just pick up a few keywords, put them down, and start analyzing them first at word level, then at the bigger context, discuss them. So when explaining how language is working, avoid general comments such as this makes the reader feel as if they are there. You need to explain how your chosen example does this to show understanding, and show how your explanations deal with each of the keywords within an identified choice separately, as well as how they work together. I've already said that. You should know your word limit, don't not exceed, and start by explaining meaning within the context of the. Yeah, so basically, this is what I have put down here, that use examples which have imagery in it so that you can actually dig out the layers of meanings from it, and then you can discuss them. But another important point is that it is don't repeat. So what you're doing is about one aspect, one atmosphere that you have realized the paragraph is creating, you give its different aspects. Hoping that this worksheet is still going to prepare you a little, and it empowers you to do this question a little better. So, all right, if none of you has any question, then let's say goodbye.